All right. Hi, everybody. It's Joanna from GSN Planet. How are you? I'm here with Megan, who is in our control room, running the show behind the scenes.
Oh, you're muted.
Watching everybody come into our webinar this afternoon, and we are we're really excited today to be partnering with Theragun, and we have Timalee Snow, who's here with us today, and I'm just going to share a little bit about her. So Timalee has been a licensed massage therapist for over 20 years, and she's been part of the Theragun team for 3 years, and she's really passionate about teaching their partners about health and well-being. She's one of Dr. Jason, who is the founder of Theragun's sisters. So Theragun's actually really part of her family. She's a certified personal trainer, a health coach, and the director of licensed massage trainer education for Theragun. And she is excited and ready to help prepare everyone on this webinar to learn about Theragun and use it to its fullest potential. And when she's not working, she is with one of her 3 kids, and she is about to be a grandma, which seems impossible. Like, I'm reading that and saying, this is not possible. So welcome, Timalee.
Thank you.
We will let you get started with your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I actually am a grandma. Baby came about 3 weeks early, so she's already a month old. It's kind of exciting. So thank you for that intro. Yeah, like she said, I've been a massage therapist for over 20 years. I've worked for Theragun off and on, being now that the secret's out that my brother is the inventor of it. He pulled me in. He's pulled me in periodically to help with conventions and different things like that. But once he figured out that I was using my Theragun doing massage, he started asking questions about it. And so we've kind of collaborated for the last few years. And finally this last fall, we were able to come together and start working on how to pull that in on a regular basis and teach other massage therapists how to do it. So I'm excited to share some of this information with you today. What I'm going to do is take you through kind of a condensed version of what we call our foundations course. So I'm just going to teach you a little bit about where Theragun came from, why it started, a little bit of the science behind it so you can understand that and have that concept in mind, and then and give you just some information about our education and different things like that. So mostly today, I just want to be as informational as possible. Please, if you have questions, just pop them in the Q&A, and Joanna is going to help me kind of divvy those out. I'll try to answer them as much as possible, and then I'll leave time at the end as well. So we'll hopefully answer all of your questions. And then I'll give you some information on contacting us after going forward. So if something comes to mind later on, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to help you. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen with you and show you our little presentation. So as I said, my responsibility with Theragun is to provide education. It's what I love. I love to teach people about things that help their bodies, about things that help their health. And me having used Theragun myself in my massage practice, and then also using it on my family and different things like that, it's really helped me understand it better and be able to communicate a little better the possibilities and the great tool that it is for you to use in your massage practice. So with that said, let's just get started here. So I'm just going to play you a quick little video. It's Dr. Jason talking about kind of the beginnings of Theragun, and then I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on it because there's a few little details that he leaves out that I think are pretty neat that are fun to know. So I'll just let you watch this, and then we'll maybe. My computer is not cooperating. Hold on. You're going to have to see my screen for a minute. No? Me and technology don't mesh.
Oh, no. There we go.
Okay, here we go.
They say necessity is the mother of invention, and my need at that time was in 2007. I was getting ready to go to one of my last exams at chiropractic school, and I jumped on my bike, and I was splitting traffic, and a car realized that it was going the wrong direction and cut me off on the freeway, and I was going 55 splitting traffic, and I slammed in the side of this car. My soft tissue damage really didn't set in until Christmas of that year, and I just started a practice with a buddy of mine here in LA. I was stuck, and I was in pain. I didn't care what this thing was that was going to fix me. I just wanted the pain to go away. Sitting in my apartment, and I thought, you know what? I need something stronger. I need something that just punches that area. And just by me sort of thinking that, I thought, I have a tool out there. I could probably make one. Went out and I grabbed 2 or 3 tools, and I brought them in, and I set them on my coffee table, and I just started messing around with it. And I found that this thing worked. I could suddenly now get in the shower for 10 or 15 minutes and do what I needed to. I could eat. I hadn't slept for over 40 days at this time. A solid night's sleep from the pain, using it for pain, and then using it for rehab, and then using it for helping my muscles build over time. Not understanding really, but I was sort of the first patient. And with my education as a chiropractor, and then applying the science to myself, I didn't realize it, but this was being ingrained into my knowledge about what this does. Over time, between 2008 and 2011, I created 4 different versions of the same technology. And I felt an enormous obligation to figure this out, to find out why this was working. In 2011, I created what was my first real tool that I'd taken apart, welded pieces on, put them back together on a larger scale. I did 250 of them. In 2014, I flew to Boston and met with the New England Patriots in their hotel before the preseason. And the guy that called me said, hey, just bring as many as you can bring. And I could bring 22. I fit them in these 2 bags, carry-on bags, showed up at the hotel, unzipped these bags. As fast as I could take cash and hand out a Theragun, I was handing out a Theragun. I ended up taking it with me on the road. I treated a bunch of NASCAR guys. I treated other professional athletes with this crazy thing, just sort of dabbling it into my normal treatments. I consider it a mission of mine to make sure that everyone that even is interested in a product like this understands what I've gone through as a clinician, what I've gone through as sort of the developer of this product, and we've done as a company. I have dozens of physicians, body workers, physical therapists, chiropractors around the world who say to me, this changed the way I practice. For you to be able to have something you can reach out to, grab a hold of, fix yourself, take away the pain, increase your range of motion, give you better activities in daily living, spend more time with your kids, grandkids, hiking, whatever it is. That's literally what we're trying to do. There's 3 things that I learned through this process that makes this work. And it's frequency, amplitude, and torque. And the combination of those 3 things is what Theragun offers that makes it so special. We have 12 years of experience. What we want is for people to feel trust in this product. To trust the product, you have to have education. You have to know what this is. And to be able to understand what this is, you have to go with someone that knows what they're talking about. And there's no one that knows better what they're talking about, quite frankly, than Theragun and myself, because I've been doing this longer than anyone I know, anyone I've met. I've been to a lot of places on this earth. Where we're at today with the G3 Pro, G3, and the Live is way beyond what I could have ever imagined. I think it's really important that people understand that, that first product was a representation of desperation. Like I needed something and I didn't care what it was. Theragun's future is to continue along the path that we are now. We are driven by science and research, education. We're constantly innovating. Our goal is to keep people pain-free and keep people moving. And the last time I checked, we're not in every hand in the world, so we got a lot of work to do.
So kind of a really cool way for you to see the beginnings and origins of Theragun. The thing that I love about that is I feel a little biased because it's my brother, but the thing that I love about it is how much emotion is behind it. And the point I like to drive home is him coming to inventing this tool was not for the purpose of mass producing it and selling it and having millions of people buy it and all of that stuff. It really just came because he was really, truly in desperate need. He needed relief. He has access to, we have another brother that's a chiropractor as well. He's got other chiropractor friends, medical doctors, all kinds of different treatment facilities. And while some of those things were working a little bit and occasionally, it wasn't working kind of continually and to give him constant relief. So he really was seeking for something that would give him relief so that he could just function in his daily life. So you heard what he said there about being able to get in the shower without pain and do different things like that. I actually had the opportunity to work on him as a massage therapist. Every time, so I live in Utah, he lives in LA, but he would come to town for different reasons. And so I would work on him, and he was truly, I don't know if I can express, and his emotion there shows you, he really was truly in a significant amount of pain. And the thing I like to point out is that if you look at the picture here of him, although it's just a nice picture to see who's kind of behind the name and everything, I really appreciate that, how balanced his musculature is. So if you're into anatomy and you like to watch the way people function, it's cool to see that based on the injuries that he sustained, he really should have a lot of muscle atrophy, and using Theragun and different rehab techniques have really helped him to be able to maintain balance in his musculature and get him out of pain. And so you heard him say in the video, there was a combination of things that really make Theragun work. And those three things, what he likes to refer to as the essential triad. So it's amplitude, frequency, and torque. And we're going to talk a little bit about those things so that you have an understanding. Those are words that I'd heard in my life in the past, but I didn't really put them together in this concept. And what was interesting to me is once I got my hands on a Theragun, which was back in 2012, I just instinctively started using it on my clients because I saw the benefit of it. Now, it was a very loud tool back then. You can imagine it being born out of a power tool, so it was very loud and a little bit challenging to use, but my clients started to love it and started to ask for it. And so he kind of came to me and said, you're using this, how can we make this work? So I want to teach you a couple of things so that you have that base understanding so that you can confidently speak to it and use it should you decide to purchase one yourself. So let's just talk a little bit about percussive therapy. You've heard the word percussion. Those of you that have attended massage therapy school, you hear that word percussion. I was taught when I was in school how to do percussion like this, right? Or cupping or this kind of stuff. And I didn't love to do it. I didn't love to receive it. I don't think it's very comfortable. I know that there is an intended purpose behind it, but I just didn't feel like it really fit in for me. And so that's what I think of when I hear the word percussion or percussive therapy. So we're kind of coining that phrase percussive therapy as the leaders in the industry. And why we're doing that is because it's so much more than just striking the body at a fast rate of speed. So with this, in this definition with percussive therapy, what we're talking about is long vertical strokes into the muscular tissue, and it's creating a neurological or neuromuscular and a neurological response at the same time. So this is professional grade, so it's very robust and easy to use, and that combination of amplitude, frequency, and torque. And we'll talk a little bit more about each one of those things so you understand why they work together. But we want to just help you understand how you can provide just a deeper and more effective massage and give your clients a longer lasting effect once they walk out of your massage room. So amplitude, great graphic here, shows you the explanation of amplitude. And I couldn't really say it better than letting you see it on the screen here. So you can see the movement vertically. So anytime you use Theragun tools, you have to make sure that the attachment is perpendicular to the muscle group you're working on. Whichever side of the body, doesn't matter. That tool needs to go directly 90 degrees perpendicular into that body, into that tissue. And what we're getting from that is 16 millimeters of depth into the muscle tissue and fascia. So you think about as a massage therapist what you can provide, how deep in the tissue you can get, providing a deep tissue massage, coming in with your elbows, your fists, whatever, that sometimes it's a little difficult to get that deep in the tissue because you get a little bit of resistance or kickback. And I'm going to explain to you why we can get that 16 millimeters of depth in just a moment. But think about the deep layers of fascia and tissue you will affect by touching that skin surface, going that 16 millimeters of depth. It's pretty exciting to see that. With that constant rapid touching of the surface, you're also getting a little vibration stimulus out of it. And you can see in the picture the little waves going out. The picture on the right, the waves are a little bit bigger. And so I'll explain to you a little bit about the local and global response and effects that you get from that throughout the whole body. So frequency. This word makes me think of sound. So whenever I heard the word frequency, I was like, well, yeah, it makes a sound. I can't quite put the two together. So what we're talking in this case, frequency, we're referring to how many times the Theragun hits your body in a second. And that number is 40 times per second. So can you imagine applying your percussive therapy or your percussion tool, whether it's your hands or your, fingers or whatever, at 40 times a second? It's pretty, I can't do it that fast. I've tried to, do some of that hacking and stuff, but 40 times a second is just not possible to achieve with simply your hands. So this tool is vibrating and coming out of that shaft at 40 times per second. So that translates to 2,400 times a minute that we're hitting that surface. Okay. And then torque. So this is a very strong, powerful motor. They have now created it into a brushless motor, so the sound is very, very minimal. I explained to you before that it used to be very, very noisy. I like to try to turn on this is my second generation Theragun. So I've tried to turn it on before on webinars, but it's so loud it cuts the sound out. So I'm not going to be able to let you hear it, but trust me when I say it was very, very noisy. Although the effect was so amazing that I just kept on using it. They've created a really strong motor that's much quieter now. So that being said, the combination of those three, the amplitude, frequency, and torque together provides a deeper, more relaxation out of your massage than just manual therapy alone. Now, please understand it's not just about being as fast as possible or as deep as possible. There has been a lot of research and study gone into determining the exact number that's effective and elicits the response that you want out of the muscle tissue. So that 16 millimeters of depth is how far into the tissue you want to be able to strike it multiple times and get that muscle tissue to relax. The speed that it's going at is actually faster than the brain can process pain. So that pain signal is essentially cut off. Think of it in terms of your clothing on your skin. If I'm wearing my clothing, if I was aware of my clothing all day, it would be obnoxious. I'd be constantly, moving it. Theragun is striking the surface, but it's not constant enough to create for your body to get used to it. So Theragun is actually leaving the body's surface. Once you start applying it, that speed and that 16 millimeters of depth, it's actually coming off of the surface of the skin every repetition. So kind of a cool effect there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the device. So it's battery operated, which is very, very cool. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the features that are involved here in a few minutes, but it's a patented design. It has a nice little triangle, super, super easy to use. It's being used by chiropractors, doctors, personal trainers, physical therapists, and now massage therapists. And people ask me all the time, oh, could I use a Theragun? And my answer is always, if you are a living, breathing human being, yes, you can use the Theragun. It is truly for everybody. Again, that triangle design. So it's really, really cool how much study has gone into this particular design. It's weighted and balanced. And so the neat thing is The weight of it itself will elicit that 16 millimeters of depth. You don't actually have to apply any pressure. You simply just have to rest it on the surface of the skin. There are multiple grips, and I'll talk about those in just a moment, but it's ergonomic. It's very, very easy to use. It's lightweight. I have trained my 2 younger kids to use it very smartly, so they'll use it on me. If that tells you they're 9 and 12, that tells you how easy it is for them to use the Theragun. And so it's easier on you as a therapist as well. One of the things that I love is when I go and do our live trainings, as I'm teaching them different techniques and protocols, I always point out the fact that body is literally doing next to nothing except for the arm that's moving the Theragun around, and I'm not death gripping it. It's very light in my hand. Just a really cool, easy tool to use. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different grips. So there's actually slightly different material on each side of each of the grips. So you kind of know where your hand is at, and you get a little different feedback from different angles. So the reason for multiple grips is so you can reach different parts of the body, either on yourself or on your clients, and not have to compromise any of your body mechanics. So the standard grip is just this top grip right here. It's kind of obviously the standard, it's across the board. You can use it anywhere. The base grip here, the one I like about this is if you're gonna be a massage therapist, if you're gonna be working cross body, you can reach across with this. Because it's so lightweight, it doesn't put any stress or strain on your shoulders, and you can reach other parts of the body without having to move around the table. Also, when you're standing and you turn it this way, you can work your own hamstrings, your calves, your glutes, and you don't have to tweak or torque your body at all. So it's kind of really effortless that way. The reverse grip is here. This is one of my favorite grips personally. I feel the strongest here. I feel like I have the best guide. The cool thing about this one is there's a little feedback point right here. And that point is where it helps you feel what's going on in the tissue with your client. A lot of massage therapists feel hesitant because they can't put their hands on the body to determine what needs to be worked on. It's a cool point right here for you to be able to feel that. And once you get used to it, it doesn't take long. You'll notice different sounds and different function and different feel through the Theragun as you use it on a client that will let you know areas that need a little bit of extra attention. And then we have the reverse grip, which is basically just this way. Fabulous for the hamstrings if you're working on a client and they're face up. Also for yourself, if you're seated, you can work on your hamstrings that way. So it's really cool. Okay, so a couple of points on the attachments that are included. So these attachments are listed what is currently on the market with our Generation 3 products. It's going to be a little bit different with your Generation 4, and I'll explain to you what the difference here is. But you have basically your dampener. You can see there the little dots tell you the impact level. So that basically means the density of the foam. Each of our attachments are closed cell PU foam. They're just different densities for different purposes. So the dampener there, I like to say this is the universal one. It really should be used as a preparatory tool. If you're doing it pre-massage, use it to just kind of prep the body for what's gonna come. If you have a client that's very, very sensitive, or if you need to work really close to bony prominences, this is a fantastic attachment for you to use. The large ball is for, I just always think larger muscle groups, quads, hamstrings, glutes, larger muscles of the back. The standard ball, you can see that it looks, I'm pointing, you can see me pointing at my screen. The standard ball, when you get them together, I'm just going to show you side by side so you can see. They look kind of similar, the standard ball and the dampener, but they're slightly different in that. I'm going to see if you can see this. I'll just go sideways. So I'll go right here on so it's very, very soft. I can press on it. It's really soft. The standard ball isn't quite as soft. It has a little bit of give, but it's not like the dampener, and they're a different in circumference. So this is my standard ball, this is my dampener. And you'll be able to see once you get them in your hand, the difference between the two. The standard ball, smaller muscle groups, trigger points, if the trigger points are very tender, just getting in between muscle fibers, kind of a universal one itself as well. The wedge, which is become one of my favorites. I'm going to show you this way too, and then this way. So you can see it almost looks like a hatchet. That's what my kids said. It looks like a hatchet. So the cool thing about this, again, very dense foam. but still soft foam. Great for the scapula, great for in between muscle fibers that are bigger. So think leg muscles, glute muscles, and then also a fantastic tool to sweep over, oh my gosh, my brain just went dead, IT band, or to flush out toxins. So if you have if you've just had an intense workout, if your client has just done a sporting event, I always say triathletes or endurance sports, this is a great tool to use to flush out some of that lactic acid to help them recover. So it's really cool. The thumb attachment is just a really kind of a little guy. I call it the gumdrop. It looks like a little bit of a gumdrop. It's really, really dense. So think smaller areas, trigger points, smaller muscle tissue. One of the things I love to do with this is work the SI joint. Right at the bottom of the back where it tends to be really, really tender. There's a lot of muscles that can come together right there. I'd love to use that one in that space. And then last but not least is the cone. And a lot of people go, when they see this, they think, oh no, I don't want to use it. It's actually an incredible tool. I highly recommend you use this on yourself, on your forearms. Massage therapists, if you have a client who has carpal tunnel syndrome, this tool is incredible. It gets right in between those muscle fibers, breaks up adhesions, and it just really helps relieve a lot of pain. I've even used it sometimes on my thumb right here. Love it. It works amazing. So that's just a little quick, it doesn't want to play videos for me, just a little quick demo of showing you how easily they are cleaned from any kind of oils or lotions. They sprayed some water on it just to show you how quickly they wipe off. It isn't necessary for you to wipe them off immediately after use. So I use mine during my, my massages, and I will wipe them at the end. I personally use some antibacterial towels that I have. I don't put any cleaning solution, but you can use them with anything that you would clean your massage table off with is okay to spray on there. I just usually tell people if you spray a cleaning solution of any kind on it, wipe it off. And then I like to take like a paper towel or something and wipe it off with water just to make sure that none of the residue is left. I'm sorry, my computer just doesn't want to help me out here. So here are just kind of the simple steps we tell. When you get your Theragun in your hand, the first thing we say is to turn it on before you apply it to the body. You want to turn it on first, make sure it's on the setting you want. On the Generation 3 products, there are 2 speed settings, 1750 to 2400. The 1750, you want to think about that more as like a relaxation. If you have a client or yourself is very sensitive, you want to kind of start there and then go to the higher speed. But you always want to turn it on before you contact your body. And then you just want to float it over your body. You don't need to apply pressure to make it do what it needs to do. So just float it over your areas that you want to work on. Move with intent. So control your speed, control your direction, control your force applied. I just tell people move slowly unless you have the intent of really energizing, waking up a muscle, or you really just want to work it and you only have a couple of seconds. Just move slowly. We're trying to get those muscles to relax and get the blood flow going. Just explore your body with the Theragun. So find different areas. If you know, like for me personally, like my hip flexors and my glutes are always really tight. So that's the area I always go to first. When I turn my Theragun on, that's the first thing I like to do. The key point I like to say here is try this on yourself before you try it on someone else. You need to understand how it feels before you apply it to someone else's body. And you also need to understand how it works so that you can explain it to somebody else. That pressure and vibration needs to be controlled, and it's controlled through the speed and the amplitude that it comes out, but you also can control it with how much pressure you apply. And then you're just combining your tools. So you use this to work some area to loosen it up. Then you can come in with your own tools, your hands, your elbows, and work on that person. We always want to encourage ourselves and our clients to breathe through it. Make sure that you're using proper body mechanics. Make sure that you're not putting anybody in an uncomfortable state. So again, some simple application techniques. Once you get yours in your hand, you can actually download our app, and the app will give you some protocols and things for self-use. But to find out how quickly it works, you can just apply it to one area for 30 seconds. And I usually say to do a little stretch test or find an area of your body that you know is sore, like if your quads are sore or your upper back is really sore, run it over that area for 30 seconds and just find out how good it feels. Origins and insertions of the muscle, and then the muscle belly. We say 30 seconds, that's usually the minimal amount of time you need in order to feel a response. So 30 seconds is all you've got to do. All right, so here is just a sample of one of the protocols that we provide when we do our continuing education training. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I love to show this one because Theragun actually did research behind treating a trigger point using a Theragun percussive therapy tool. So the cool thing is, take a nice long look because you won't see this again unless you attend one of our trainings. This has actually been studied and it works immaculately. It's the most incredible thing. As soon as I read the study, I had been treating trigger points myself with Theragun under a different assumption, kind of combining what I learned in massage therapy school. But this process actually works, and it is incredible how quickly those Theragun or those trigger points will alleviate. So just a sample to show you, when we do our live trainings, we have we give you tips and tricks and specific protocols on helping relax different muscle areas. So that's just a little sample there. A little bit of the history behind pressing on sore muscles. Most of you know this if you attended massage therapy school, but the best way I can relate this is, for millennia of time, probably since the beginning of time, I can imagine the, cavemen or whatever idea you have of history of human life. Bump your elbow, stub your toe, hurt yourself, cut your finger. The first thing we do is we grab it, right? You want to squeeze it, you want to rub it. It's like, oh my gosh. So it's just that instinctive response. So there's been a long history behind doing that. And over centuries and years, it's become more and more of a respected trade for healing. So bringing us to percussive therapy using pressure and vibration together, the effects are incredible on the body. So I told you before, there's a local and a global response out of each muscle tissue that you work on. So local response, we're getting blood flow, we're oxygenating the muscle, we're increasing the temperature, getting that blood flow through there. When you start to see the surface kind of go pink and it's heating up, you know that things are working really well. And then the gliding of the tissue also. So that's just those local benefits out of it. And then the global response, we're getting a reduction in pain, overall relaxation, excitability of the nervous system. So we're kind of doing what's called unloading the peripheral nervous system. So think about somebody who has neuropathy or sciatica, those kinds of things. Using Theragun in your treatments for those things will actually help quickly unload that peripheral nervous system. And then of course, reduction in emotional stress as well. So I always relate it back to Dr. Jason. You saw how emotional he was about the pain he was in. When someone is truly in a significant amount of pain, it is deeply emotional and it's a mental game and they just want relief. So it's a cool way to show you that you can use Theragun on just a few areas of the body and it's actually going to elicit a global response. Just some of the benefits. Obviously, we've talked about most of those, local and global. We're going to protect effects against soreness from exercise. It's actually really interesting because I've been using Theragun more and more as a warm-up and a cool down for my workouts, and I'm not getting as sore. And I kind of laughed with my husband the other day and said, oh my gosh, I'm not even sore. And I was kind of bugged about it because I like to be sore. That lets me know that I really did something. And I finally went, oh, it's probably because I'm doing what I should have been doing all along, which is using my Theragun. And it's great because then I can go back in and do another workout the next day and not be completely fatigued. So we're maximizing recovery, reducing muscle tension, stimulating the mechanoreceptors in your nerve endings, optimizing performance. So if you have a client that is an athlete of some kind, and really just functioning in life in general. We always like to teach our massage therapists about self-care. If you're like me, you're a great therapist, but you don't get your own massage. You don't go and get a treatment very often. This is something I'm really bad about. So having a Theragun, I really don't have an excuse because I can work on my areas of tension and tightness every single day. and I'm not after a month complaining going, oh, I really need a massage. Now, it certainly doesn't take away from getting a massage. I always say nothing replaces human touch, but it's a really fantastic intermittent tool to use so that I can work on myself in between times. And then it encourages me to go get a massage more often. So the 3 kind of points of using Theragun throughout a massage, we just say activation or to warm up the tissue before you do a massage, intermittently during your massage. It also has a restorative response. And so if you're doing exercise, you can use it intermittently as well. And then just relieving pain and overall tension when you're done with an activity or at the end of a massage to help you kind of wake up your client and kind of ground them again. So there's kind of like a 3 levels of use there. Again, it's all in the pressure you apply. You need to be checking in with your client. You need to use it appropriately and be aware of what they need. Use the proper attachments. It will be really, really helpful. You can individualize the experience with how much pressure you apply, really. And it really is different from person to person. Some common faults. Occasionally we get people that say, oh, I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. It hurts, whatever. So there's a couple of things you can tweak and adjust so that you can continue to use it. So incorrect amount of force. You're at the incorrect speed, something that's uncomfortable to them. You're spending too much time in one area. Using the wrong grip or angle. You, again, need to be perpendicular to that muscle tissue. Starting in the treatment directly on a tender area. So think about a really sore muscle or trigger point. You're not going to go right to that area. You want to kind of warm up the tissue. And then, again, not having it perpendicular to that muscle tissue. We always try to encourage informing people about standards of care. So using the correct methods to apply it, how to safely and correctly use it, and understanding precautions and contraindications. Most of our precautions are things that we would say you need to be sensitive about these things. If your client has a doctor's note that says it's okay for them to go ahead and get that treatment, these are kind of the list of items that we say to just be aware of. And then our contraindications are very similar to that of massage therapy. Most of these things, a person wouldn't come in and get a massage unless they had a doctor's note or had been cleared of most of these things. I'm not going to go over every single one of them. It's a long list, but we always get more questions. What about this? What about that? I'm happy to answer any questions you have. These are the ones that we felt like really belonged on this list that were the most prominent, that we get the most questions on. So that being said, let me just share with you a couple of exciting things. So currently on the market is our Generation 3 products. So we have the G3 Pro, the G3, and the Live. And I believe, actually, I heard the other day that the Live is sold out. That's kind of like the base model, if you want to call it that. The Generation 3 products are available online currently. However, we have kind of a cool deal for you today. So those of you that are in attendance and want to take our continuing education training, we are starting to offer that virtually, which is very, very exciting. We are approved through NCBTMB, which is the national governing body, and it is a 4-credit-hour course. It does take 4 hours, but with that, if you sign up for that course, you will also receive the Generation 4 Theragun Elite, which is so, so cool. I'm so excited about it. It's so quiet. I'm going to turn it on. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, and maybe Joanna, you might want to pop back on the screen and tell me if you can hear it, but it's so quiet. I'm just going to turn it on so you can hear. It really is amazing. So if you are concerned about using it in a spa environment, the effects are minimal in that regard. It comes with all the attachments I showed you except for the large ball. And the Generation 4 products come with 5 speed settings, from 1750 to 2400 percussions per minute. So you have a range you can use on your clients. It's really, really fantastic. All of those fit within that optimal range of eliciting the response you really want to get from the muscle tissue. So this list here just shows you the products that product line that's going to be introduced here in the next few weeks. So again, I want you to just stay focused on that Theragun Elite. That's what we're encouraging massage therapists to use. With that, I know we will get some questions on this, and so I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we have. What we have is called Theragun University. Most of our courses are offered, generally have been offered live. You need to be a part of a spa or a community like that we can come and do trainings for you. But now, like I said, we are providing them virtually. So you can attend our course from the comforts of your own home if you like. Right now, the deal is that you can get our 4-hour course and a Theragun Elite, which is a $650 value, the combination of the two, for, are you ready for it? $200. $200. You sign up for our virtual course. You'll get a Theragun Elite. You'll have the tool in your hands. It's very exciting. I believe we are going to provide a link to you on this webinar, so you can link to that and sign up for those courses. They will be starting next Thursday. We will offer 2 times each day that we offer the course, so you have the option of a morning or an afternoon course. And then we will also follow up with you after this to provide information on that as well. So that is all I have for you as far as my presentation goes. And it looks like we have quite a bit of questions.
Yeah, Timalee, that was really great. And we'll be, if we don't have it toward the end of this webinar, we'll be sure to send out any link to all of you attendees to provide more information about the Elite plus the course. So that's really great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great presentation, Timalee. Really good. So let's try to answer some of these questions over here. So someone is asking, what are the contraindications?
Okay, so I just showed, let me just flip that back up really quick on my screen so you can see here. Oh, where did we go? Hold on. Make sure I get it. Okay. Let me just get back to this really quick. Sorry. I want to make sure I have the right screen up so you don't have to look at everything else here.
I do remember that. It was like the last 2 or 3 slides, right? I do remember that.
I'll find it again. Here we go. Okay. All right. Okay, so there's the list for you. And really for the most part, a good majority of this are things that you would want to just get prior permission from a physician on. I mean, some of the just big time no-nos, obviously you don't want to use it on open wounds, local tissue inflammation, but the caveat to that is that if you've recently had a surgery, I always tell people when the wound starts to look pink, it's starting to heal, is actually a really great tool to help with scar tissue and break down your actual scarring. So there's some little caveats to a lot of these, but this is the list of things that we try to generally avoid.
And when you have the slides up, someone's asking, can you go back to the local responses slide?
Yeah, you bet. There you go.
And also, what about pregnancy?
Okay, we get asked that all the time. So funny. So what we try to tell people is just not to use the Theragun around that middle part of their body. So obviously not the abdomen, and then that same area on their lower back, even though that's usually the area that they need it the most, right, is on their lower back. So I always, when I work on friends or whatever, I always work on their glutes and then their upper back. Yep. And just avoid that very middle part of their body. So we're actually trying to work on a study right now with pregnancy to see if there are any adverse effects on the fetus at all. We're confident that there isn't, but just to be safe, that's kind of where we sit right now.
I think that makes sense too. And how do you know when to change the knobs?
Okay, so when we do our training, We teach you about different uses of the different attachments for different muscle groups, but it also is really, really individualized. So if you have somebody who's really sensitive, needs a lot of flushing out of lactic acid, you want to use the softer attachments or the larger attachments to cover a broader area. So it has to be really, really individualized. We give some tips, we give some suggestions, but then we also say, check in with your clients to make sure that they're comfortable.
Okay.
And experiment with all of them, because you'll want to see what all of them do on different areas.
Here's another really good question. What do you suggest as an additional charge when adding this component, like use of the Theragun, to a massage?
Great.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah. So if you're an individual, if you're like an independent contractor, I personally charge an additional $15 if I incorporate it into the massage. If I add time to my massage, I just imagine what I would charge for an additional, let's say they ask for an hour massage and then they want some additional treatment with the Theragun, and I'm going to add, I'd say maybe 15 minutes. I'm going to charge like $15 extra for that. Depends on, it's different state to state what you charge kind of per minute for a massage. So you want to kind of gauge it on that. But I usually charge between $15 and $20 to incorporate it in.
And when you, just another question, which is, what about using it like over clothing or directly on the skin? Like I've had
Good question. So it works both ways. When we teach our course, we always we're working on each other. So our clients are always clothed. And it's just an easy way to demonstrate it, but it works both ways. So
yeah. I was thinking about that with regard to our current environment, right? Yeah. With the situation with the coronavirus, and how this may be an accessible way to get a massage, because you're not really putting hands on people. It gives a little bit of a barrier. And if you did it with clothes on, there's a couple of pluses there. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've really been thinking about is think about it in terms of like a chair massage. If you went and got a chair massage somewhere, they're anywhere between $1 to $2 per minute.
Right.
So you could do a 10 or 15 minute treatment over a whole body and charge, 15 or $20, and they're still getting a good, a nice relaxing experience, but then you're not actually having to put your hands on them. And then you just need to sanitize it like you would normally.
Right. And someone's asking about, when working on the upper back, does it rattle the person too much, like shake their head or their teeth?
No. So one of the things that we tell when we do our training, we teach areas that you want to avoid altogether. And we just say not above the C4. So that kind of middle of your neck, you don't want to go above that. If you start touching their head with those attachments, yes, you're going to rattle their teeth. Upper back is fine. The thing you want to avoid is the bones. Obviously, when you hit the bones, it does a little bit more of a rattle. I always tell people it just makes me itch. If they get near on my traps, my face starts to itch, but it's just that vibration that's going through my skin. So.
Right. All right. Well, wow, I think you've answered all the questions. That was fantastic. Now we will follow through by sending everyone who attended the webinar the link in terms of applying for the training. So we'll coordinate that with Theragun, because I know someone asked that too. And we're excited. So we're excited about our partnership with Theragun. We thank you for coming today and giving such a great talk.
You bet. I'm happy to be here. And just as a side note, you guys, if anybody has any questions after this, if you come up with something later, you can reach out to us at education@theragun.com, and they will forward any questions that come through to myself and my cohort, Ash, and we will answer any questions that we can. So.
Okay, great. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Hope you all have a good rest of the day, and a special thank you to you, Timalee. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Timalee.
All right. Bye, Megan.
Bye.